All right. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha HaKodash. Welcome to another lesson, another live lesson. This is just various topics. Today's date is February 11th, 2018. It's a Sunday. Um, I don't have anything prepared, but Spirit is on me to go live, so I'm just gonna um, just go into whatever the Spirit gives me. Um, I do want to mention that the Passover is coming up soon. um, Pretty much the different camp leaders out there, um, they have the information for the Passover, the day it's going to be, and they'll give it out to their camps, the members, as is needed. Um, when we keep the when we do the Passover, there's a service that we have. Usually we'll have a class first, then after the class, we'll go into dealing with the service for the Sabbath, for the Passover. And it's pretty much done in the Lashawan Kodash or the Paleo Hebrew. Um, and I got a couple of examples here. I was gonna go through some of this real quick, just the alphabet. This what you're seeing right here is the Paleo Hebrew. I also have the Paleo Hebrew, and I also have the Assyrian script, or really Syrian script, which they call Aramaic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through some of this, and just to show you, these are all the characters. The Hebrew language is read from right to left. The Hebrew language is also the language of the heavens. That's why when Yahweh Shai came to the Apostle Paul, he spoke to him in the Hebrew tongue. All right. And that is our language. That is our heritage. That was the first language that was ever spoken on the planet. Um, this is what Adam named the animals and the trees and everything that he saw. For example, this Ah here, this is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, Ah. If you turn this counterclockwise, or should I say, yeah, if you turn this counterclockwise, where it looks like this V is standing up, if you look at it pretty close, it looks like an ox head, or like a cattle head. Any of you brothers out there that know about American Steakhouse, they have a logo, and the logo, is a like a stick figure, um, cattle head, you know, and this is what this stands for, alap, which means 1,000, or it also means cattle. So you have a, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, taza, kwa, ra, sha, and then tha. So this is the Paleo Hebrew, or the Lashwan Kodash, the holy tongue uh that we speak. But you'll be able to find certain um sites that'll have this particular language. But you have the majority of books that you will have out there is gonna have the Syrian or Aramaean form of the Hebrew. Now this one here is incomplete. I mean, the letters are complete, but this is missing what's called final lance, which I'll explain that in a second. But these letters here, you notice they're different from these, because this is the ancient Hebrew, and this is the Aramaean script. All right, so you got the a, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, cha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, taza, kwa, Ra, Sha, and Tha. Now, in this particular writing here, the final lance is, there's certain times when you when you create a Hebrew word that it ends in certain letters, certain of these letters. Well, there's 5 of these letters here that have a different look to them. The first one being the Ka. Now the Ka, if the word begins with a Ka, or if the Ka is found somewhere in the middle of the word, you just basically use a regular Ka. But if the Ka ends at the end of the word, like the Hebrew word for king is Malak, and it ends with a Ka, you will put a final length on it, and this letter would come this way and all the way down instead of curving at the bottom here. Let me see if I can find. Let me see if I can find Hebrew alphabet. Alphabet. Let me see if I can find an example of this. Okay, beautiful, right here. Now, as you can see here, you have the Aba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Cha, Ta, Ya, and then you have the Ka. This is the final Ka. See how it goes across the same way, but it comes straight down. This would go at the end of a word. Then you have the La, and then you have the Ma. Now you notice how this Ma is shaped, and this Ma is a little more boxed or a little more square, because this goes at the end of a letter. Like the word Mayum, which is water, it has both. It has the Ma, Ya, and then Ma at the end. So Mayum, water, you will use this for the regular M or Ma, and this for the final one. Then you have Na, which is uh, um, the next letter, and this is the letter that would go at the end of a word. Okay, like Joshua, the son of Nun. This would be the first letter you would use, and that would be the one at the end. This Nun. If you're using this particular Aramean script, So I mean, I hope this isn't too confusing for you brothers, you know. But I'm just giving you like some basic pointers. Then you have the Sa, and notice the Sa and the final Man look very similar, but the this one here has like a cutoff here, and this one is totally square. So these things, when you're reading through the pages of the Hebrew, you'll get familiar with the letters. The first step is you have to learn the letters, and know which memorize which letter is which, and then after a while you learn how to pick up on how to distinguish the different letters, in the Aramean, because mainly in the Aramean is where you get a lot of confusion. And all right, so you have the Sa, you have the I, and the Pa, and the Pa. This is the one that goes at the beginning or throughout, and then this Pa here will go at the end of a word in the Hebrew. Okay, so that, like the word where we were dealing with here. Just bear with me 1 second. As we were dealing with here, I'm sorry. Yeah, when we were saying that the A stands for alap, it would be A, La, and Pa. I'm sorry, Pa. But this is the regular Pa. So let me go back here. So alap, which is 1,000 or cattle, would be A, La, and this final Pa here. You wouldn't use this one because this is at the end. So it's only 5 letters that are like that. That whenever a word ends in that particular letter, you will use a different letter to write at the end of that particular word. All right. Then you have the tazah. This is the regular tazah, and that's the final tazah. Okay. Like the word aratazah is ra, tazah, but this is at the end, so you will put this tazah at the end of the letter or of the word. Okay, so that's the regular tazah, that's the final tazah, kwa ra shata. And once you learn that basic that basic concept there, you pretty much will be able to pick up different things when you're reading. All right, So that was, pretty much it on that. I just wanted to go through the Hebrew alphabet right quick. Just show you the difference between the Paleo and the Aramaean. Okay, and this is what we mostly deal with, because the Torahs that we have today are mostly written in this language. You know, this and I just want to just put it out there. First of all, I like to say shalom to the elect, shalom to the hopeful elect out there, and this lesson, when you go into history or when you go into the Hebrew or different things, is boring. It's not controversial, so it's not going to hold the attention of these scoffers much, you know. So if you're here for controversy, you might as well just keep it moving, because this is not that type of lesson. All right, so since I mentioned Yahweh Shai speaking to the Apostle Paul, um, let's go there. Acts chapter 26 and verse 13. Um, Matter of fact, before I read that, I want to go here to the I'm just gonna type in the word Hebrew, right? Which is Genesis 14:13. All right. Genesis 14:13. It says, and there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre of the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. So it called Abram the Hebrew. Now the Hebrew language has the name Hebrew, but they also called it the speech of Judah, something along those lines. I can't really remember the Jews' language. I believe this is said, but it's also known as Hebrew. Okay. Now, when you look up this term, this word Hebrew in the actual Hebrew language is Ibar Yah. Now you notice that this is the Aramaean form. It's Ibar Yah. That's Hebrew, which comes from the Hebrew word Ibar. Okay, this is where you get the name Eber from. All right, and the reason why Eber was named that was because he was the patriarch whom the language was kept through. Because when you go back to the beginning, Genesis, the 11th chapter, and I'll start at the first verse, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, meaning everybody spoke that same language, you know? So everybody before the flood spoke the same language. That's why they were able to understand each other, to be able to build this tower and be able to be in unison as one. Now, that was your first New World Order. Everybody was speaking the same language. Everybody understood everybody. Everybody had the same goal in mind, was to build this tower so that the flood wouldn't overtake them again. Now, if the Most High was with all people coming together, why did he not allow these people to continue speaking the same language altogether? Why did he confound the language? Because the Most High is not dealing with all people coming together like that. All right. It says, I'm going to jump to the 5th verse. And the Lord came down to see the city and tower, which his children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So then when that happened, that's where all the different languages came into being, based off of the Hebrew language. And if you look at all these languages, they all have some form of Hebrew root to them. All right, one of the closest being Arabic, which has a Hebrew in it, because it's a mixture of Hebrew in there. It says, so the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel. Now the word Babel comes from the Hebrew word Babal, which means confusion. And it was called that because there was all these different languages speaking, and no one understood each other. And that's the reason why the Lord calls America Babylon the Great, because it's that great melting pot with all different languages, on there. They have a term called e pluribus unum, which let me grab that real quick. Let me go to all. Let me see. E pluribus unum. It says e pluribus unum, out of many, one. And it says what? The motto of the U.S. All right. So pluribus is where you get the word plural. Unum is where you get the word one. And E is, no, I guess it's a shortened form of out of many. Okay, I'm sorry, out of, out of. So E pluribus unum, out of many, one. And that's the motto of the U.S. Okay. So you have all these different people that have different backgrounds, different religions, different languages that are all here gathered together in what's known as the melting pot. And that's another term. Let's put in the term melting pot. Let's see what comes up. Melting pot. Let's see. The melting pot is a metaphor for a heterogeneous society becoming more homogeneous. So, in other words, heterogeneous, the word hetero means other, and geneous is where you get the word gene. So, this is a society that has people of different races, right, becoming homogeneous or one nation. The different elements melting together into a harmonious whole with a common culture or vice versa for a homogeneous society becoming more heterogeneous. So pretty much the Lord doesn't want this. The Lord does not want, and if you look at the picture, it says the melting pot, the great American drama. So this is when you look at or think of the term melting pot, is always is normally associated with America. All right. And that's what you got, the melting pot. And there was, and all nations were supposed to come here. That's why they had what's known as Ellis Island, which is where the Statue of Liberty is, where all these different nations would come to and register themselves there. All right, before they actually came on the soil, on the actual soils of America. That was the first place that they would go to document themselves, so to speak. Okay. It says through the influx of foreign elements with different cultural backgrounds with the potential creation of disharmony with the previous culture. Historically, it is often used to describe the assimilation of immigrants to the United States. See? So this is why America is known as Babylon the Great. But when you go back to the beginning, matter of fact, before I read that, all right, let me go here to the book of Revelation 17. And I start at 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. So this great whore is America. Why? Because everyone on the planet, wants to do and be like America, because they want to get that money, they want to make that money, and they want to be like, America. So this is the great whore. And it says that sitteth upon many waters. Now, what are these many waters that it's sitting upon? Well, let's jump down to the 15th verse. And there was another precept that, okay, just bear with me 1 second. It's another precept popped in my head through the spirit. All right. It says here, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So this is that great melting pot. Now there's another scripture in, I believe it's the book of Ezekiel, that kind of is similar to this, but offhand I don't know how it's quoted, but it kind of goes into the waters and the peoples and all that. All right. So this is where we get that term e pluribus unum from, or the great melting pot, which is America. And they're also sitting not just upon all the people here, but also upon the children of Israel, as it states here in Isaiah chapter 14 and Verse 13, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. And this is another clue that America is this Babylon the Great, because this is North America. And this is where the international bankers, as well as the ruling class, um, have Jake in pretty much in slavery under contracts, and the Spirit has had us going through that for the last few days, dealing with this 14th Amendment slavery, you know, and that's what's binding Jake to be slaves in this society, you know, and that's the reason why we can't escape, because the Lord said that no man shall save thee. So they took the chains off of us physically, but they put them on us mentally, and they cemented it with these contracts and with our signatures, you know. And the labor that we give them is what keeps us perpetually in debt, you know, receiving the so-called monetary ways, or the monetary funds that they give us, which is these FRN notes, which are nothing but credit-based notes. So you can never pay off a credit with a credit. That's why when you get credit cards and you try to pay off credit cards with other credit cards, what happens? You know, you may pay off one, but you're always in debt because you're chasing this thing over and over again. And the scripture said that we would be subject to payments. So there's no way to break that cycle unless you pay with actual money. And that's why on the back of the dollar bill, if you look at the back of the dollar bill, you look in the back of the dollar bill. Let me see if they have one here, right here. Let's see if you look at the back of the dollar bill, they have all these different webs. And what happens when you get caught up in the web? You get tangled in and you can't get out of it, you know? And that's what happens. Now, if you look on this, you can't really see it that great here, but if you look, and that right on this one right here, on this little curvature here, let me see if I can make that a little bigger. Let me move it over. It's 2, 3, 4. If you look real good, I mean, this one you can't really see it that great. I believe it's here in this corner where they have an actual owl. All right, because this is the illuminated one's way of saying that this is their shit. You know, this is their deal. All right, and this thing will trap you up because it's matter of fact, bring this back down. Let me go to Proverbs 2:7. It says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." So that's the reason why we're in this state, because we're the servants that are we're servants to the ones that lend. You know, they're the ones that give us this debt bearing notes. You know, which is the scriptures call a false balance. You know, and that's why one of the reasons why the Lord is going to destroy them. You know, it also speaks about them using our wages, you know, without really paying us. You know, and that's another reason why we're out there on the highways and the byways cursing these devils out, because they have not paid us for, you know, the labor that our forefathers put here, not just in America. You know, dealing with Jake, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. You have Gad, Reuben, Issachar. Then you have the islands, man. So they've never paid us for all that work they made us to do. And that's the reason why the Most High is going to destroy these devils. All right. So going back to the melting pot thing. All right. So that's the congregation of the north. So these waters on which the whore, this is another clue that this whore is America. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Now, when you go back to the beginning, which we read in Genesis the 11th chapter, the Lord confounded the language there. because he didn't want all people to come together. And he further went in Deuteronomy 32:8, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel, because the Lord did not want all nations to come together. That's why he said he separated the sons of Adam. Okay. So now what he separated them, he gave them their lands, he gave them their portions of land. But then what made the separation even greater, and what made the people of Israel stand out even more, was the fact that he gave us the laws, statutes, and commandments to separate us from fully from these other nations. Because it says that the gods of these nations are idols. No, but the Most High himself is not. Okay, the Most High himself, he is a power of knowledge, and he gave us laws, statutes, and commandments to set us apart from these other nations. That's why it says, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people, possessive. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Why? Because he made a promise to Abraham that in him and in his seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So this is where the lot ended. That's why the fathers of the promise are known as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right. So now going back to Genesis, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the 10th chapter. We're going to go to the 10th chapter, and we're going to go to the 21st verse. Okay, because we read before how Abram was called the Hebrew, and we went to the Hebrew word for Hebrew, and it's Ibar, which is another way of saying the language. And then there was somewhere where that actual term Ibar or Hebrew came from. You know, this is the book of Genesis 10:21. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder, even to him were children born. So now, when you look at the lineage of Shem, Shem was not the actual father of Eber. All right. I mean, he came out of the loins of Shem through his other sons, but he wasn't directly the father of Eber. He was like his either grandfather or great grandfather. Because when you read the next verse, it said the children of Shem, Elam and Ashur and Arphaxad and Lud and Aram. So Shem had 5 sons, and Eber was not found in any of these 5 sons, because Eber came through the loins of Arphaxad. You know. And it gives you the sons of Aram. It says, and Arphaxad begot Selah, and Selah begot Eber. See? So really, Eber was the great grandson, or the great-great-grandson of Shem. Now, why did it say unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber? Was because through Eber was where the chosen line was going to come. And through Eber is where we kept that language, you know? Because the word Eber, when you go to it, comes from the Hebrew word Ibar, as you see there. And the word Ibar means from the past. You know, they say the region beyond, you know, which it's used in that sense in some places, but it also means the past. Something that was from the past. All right. I have in the Ben Yehudi, and in the Ben Yehudi, they have it says the word past, you know, as in the past, you know, but I tried to take a picture, or try to show a picture of that before, but it didn't come out too good. So so you brothers that have access to the Ben Yehudi, you know, you could look it up. Just look up the word Ibar, as you see it here, Ibar, and then you'll see that it says past, you know, from the past. Now, why was he named that? Because he was going to keep the language of the past through that line. And when you go through that line, that's why when you go back, okay, then it says, and unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So the line went from Shem to Arphaxad to Selah to Eber to Peleg. Why? Because Peleg, the word palag, means divide. And this is where the division was during his days, was when the Lord confounded the languages, and that's when the division came. But through his line, that's where the promise, the language and the promise chosen line came through. This is going back to Genesis. Let's see. Genesis 11 and 10. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years and begot sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 530 years and begot Salah. And Arphaxad lived after he begot Salah 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Now the Lord is starting to narrow the path and the lineage to go and to get to the chosen people, which is the nation of Israel. It says, and Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber. And Salah lived after he begot Eber 403 years and begot sons and daughters. And Eber lived 430 years and begot Peleg. See? And Eber lived after he begot Peleg 430 years and begot sons and daughters. All right. And Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. And Peleg lived after he begot Reu 209 years and begot sons and daughters. And Reu lived 230 years and begot Serug. And Reu lived after he begot Serug 207 years and begot sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And Serug lived after he begot Nahor 200 years and begot sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 9 and 20 years and begot Terah. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 119 years and begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So this is where all that whole line came through all of that to get right here to Abram, because this was the man that the Most High was going to choose out of all the people on the planet back then. This man was the only one that was privy to the Most High's plans. He even called Abram his friend. Now the word Abram, this brother Bible teacher South Carolina, not the Zakba, that's an excellent scripture. Job 8 and 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. Because you have to know where you're coming from to know where you're going. You know, and when you read the scriptures, even though the people try to downplay the Bible, when you read the Bible, everything is in there. You know, from the nationality of people to the history to everything that took place. But a lot of people choose to be ignorant because they don't want to abide by rules and regulations of the Lord, because it clashes with their lifestyle. So now the name Abram, right? The Hebrew Abram means Abba Rum. Now the word Abba is father. And the Hebrew word Rum is exalted father. Why was he called the exalted father? Well, because through him he was the beginning of the fathers of the promise. Then after that, after the Lord started giving him children, his name was changed to Abraham. Abraham, right? Not Abraham, but Abraham. All right, so Abba is father, and Raham is multitude. Why? Because out of Abraham he had many sons, many children, you know, and out of them children, a lot of people came out of those children. But the chosen line came through Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob. Okay, so that's why they were known as the fathers of the promise. Abraham being father exalted because he was the first. You know, like you have grandfather, you have your great grandfather, you have your great great grandfather. So he was a top man, you know, the top patriarch. Where you trace the line of the chosen back too. You know, so now there were many other people on the planet prior to Abraham. So Abraham didn't have all the children of Japheth. He didn't have all the children of Ham. He didn't have all the children of Shem. But the Lord told him that in him all families of the earth shall be blessed. Why? Because it was only given to the nation of Israel. So the Lord was making that distinction. You know, he was setting the path of the chosen line through this man Abraham. Then he had Ishmael. He had Isaac. He had 8 sons with Keturah. And the name Isaac comes from the Hebrew word. I don't know if you brothers could see that. I don't know if that's too small. Yataza Chak, I believe it is. Yataza Chak, which means laughter. Okay? Yataza Chak means laughter. I mean, I hope you brothers could see that. If not, I'll see if I can make it bigger. Matter of fact, let me just that looks better. All right. So you had Abram, whose name was changed to Abraham. Then you had Isaac, right? So out of all the children of Abraham, the Lord only chose Isaac. Out of all 8 sons, only one was chosen. Then from Isaac, you had Jacob and Esau. And Jacob's name, Yaquab, which means supplanter. Matter of fact, let me just put it down. Supplanter, one who gets over on you. Isaac's name was laughter. Abraham, father, exalted. And Abaram, father of a multitude, father of a multitude. And Abaram is father exalted. Okay. Then Jacob's name, when he wrestled with the angel, was changed to Israel. And that's why you have these bugged out people in Kemet that say Israel is Isis, Ra, and El, which when you go back to the original language, it has nothing to do with that. The Hebrew for that is Yasher Allah, which the Yah at the beginning is he, the Shar is prince, and the Allah part is power or God. Okay, so this is the chosen line of the Lord: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this is where it ended. And all the children that came out of Israel, which is Jacob, those were the children of the promise that the Lord promised Abraham, that in him all nations of the earth shall be blessed. All right. So these are basic names in the Hebrew that brothers should know. These are very key, important names that you should know the names of, because that, like the brother put earlier, yeah, that's right. The brother Quanawath come, them Kemet niggas bugged out. Yeah, that's right. All right. So these are basic names that you should know, in the Hebrew. I mean, along with others, but these are just some of the basic ones. This is good to know. All right. So going back here, Genesis 11:26, and Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So through that line, that's where the language was kept, because when you go back to Genesis 14, that's why Abram was called Genesis 14:13. And there came out one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And they try to say that means one crossed over. That's not what it means. It means from the past. Hebrew means from the past. Now, it could be used in the sense of crossing over, but in this particular case is talking about the language that was kept from the past. Okay, and as you look at it again, the word Hebrew here is Ibaria. Now let me type in Hebrew again, see what comes up. I'm gonna the Hebrew servant, Hebrew midwives to the Hebrew smiting in Hebrew, by in Hebrew. Just bear with me 1 second. In Hebrew, this is the King of the Jews. See, look, right? Well, this is in the New Testament. And It says, and the superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew. This is the King of the Jews, because the Hebrew was also known, is also like the name of the language. Although you had the Judean language, or the language of the Jews, it goes, it's Hebraicos, which goes back to what? Hebrew. So that was the actual name of the language. And why was it called that? Because that was the language of the past. Okay, that's where the language is kept. So this letter here, Strong's G 144 goes back to the Hebrew G. Well, actually, this is the English. I'm sorry, this is the Hebrew 14443. But I know if you keep tracing it back, see, of Hebrew origin, Ibar, and that's the language that was kept. All right, and that's why those letters were written up there, because you had Israelites that were actually speaking the Hebrew language. They were speaking Greek, they were speaking Latin, and they were speaking Hebrew. But sometimes the name of the language is called the language of the Jews or the Judean language, depending on which scriptures you go to. All right, let's see if they got any other ones. See what else they got. Right here, John 5:2. Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. So this is the Hebrew tongue, and when you go to that, John 5:2, the Hebrew tongue, the word there is Hebraiste.
Strong's G 1447. Hebraisti.
Hebraisti in Hebrew. In an example, in Chaldee, because Chaldean language is basically the ancient name, I guess, or a way of saying the Hebrew also. Hebraistically, or in the Jewish Chaldee language, in the Hebrew tongue. So this is the language that the language of the heavens, and this is also the language that all nations were speaking in the beginning. All right. So let's go back. Let's see what else we could find. This one, John 19:13. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Yahushua forth and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called the pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. See? So it doesn't, there's instances where it could be the region beyond, or to pass over or whatever, but it also means from the past, because this was a name that was given to the language. Okay? This is the 17th verse. And he bearing his cross went forth into a place called the place of skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha. All right. And this Acts 22:2. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence. And he saith. So this is the Apostle Paul speaking to the Israelites in their language, in the Hebrew tongue. So now let's go from there to Acts 26:12. It says, and this is the testimony that the Apostle Paul was given. I believe this was Agrippa he was speaking to, if I'm not mistaken. It says Acts 26, and this was the conversion, Paul's conversion, because at one time he was persecuting the church for teaching of Yahushua, because he thought that it was going off. He thought that they were committing blasphemy. And he was so zealous for the truth that he actually persecuted and had them put in prison and put to death, because he really believed that what he was doing was right. And he was so convicted that he was just going and doing what he had to do. He just got letters from the Sanhedrin, and he just went and did what he had to do. And Yahushua came and appeared to him to let him know, look, you kicking against the prick, you persecuting me. All right. And this is one of the accounts of what took place. Acts 26:12. Whereupon, as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priests, at midday, O king, I saw on the way a light from heaven above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. So it's this language, this person that appeared before Paul was a person of the heavens, which is Yahweh Shai. So when he spoke to him in the Hebrew tongue, he said, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. He said this in the Hebrew language. It says, and I said, who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Yahweh Shai, whom thou persecuted. He didn't say, I am Jesus. He said, I am Yahweh Shai, whom thou persecutest. And I bet you when you go there to the name so-called Jesus, I'm Salakia, hit the wrong one. Jesus, it sends you back to what? Hebrew origin, Yahweh Shai, which they went off on this. You know, an Apostle Tahar had made a mention of a lesson dealing with the blue letter going off. I forget the exact title he gave it, but that's a good lesson. But it should be Yahweh Shai. Though this wa should not be there. So Yahweh Shai, that's also equivalent to Joshua. You know. So really, this is the name that Yahweh Shai gave to the Apostle Paul, you know, upon his conversion. So it says, I said, who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Yahweh Shai, whom thou persecutest. So this language, this Hebrew language, is the language of the heavens. And this is the language that we are going to be speaking, you know. And this is why we are getting back to our language. Matter of fact, Deuteronomy 32:7. Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy fathers, and he will show thee thy elders, and they will tell thee. So when you go back and you read the Bible, which is our history book, our law, statutes, and commandments, our forefathers spoke the Hebrew language. So why would we not try to strive to speak the same? You know, now we're not going to get it perfect. And we never, ever, ever said that if you don't speak the Hebrew language, you're going to be destroyed. That's a damn lie that's been perpetuated by the slanderers of Israel, the IUIC, them devils. You know, we never said if you don't learn the Hebrew, you're not going to be saved. No, we give you the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, and you should want to learn certain words and certain names, you know, so you can be better studied, you know. But we never said that if you don't learn the Hebrew language, you're going to be destroyed. That's a goddamn lie and a fabrication and a tale bearing and a slander. All right. There was another. Okay, let me just go here. Isaiah 19, and I'm gonna end this lesson in probably with this scripture here. This is Isaiah 19, and this is a future prophecy. All right, of what's going to happen. This is the book of Isaiah 19 and 16. In that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. And the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. And that's what's happening. See, right now, Jake is these Edomites, these so-called Americans, they're being terrorized by the fact that this word is being spread so much, and Jake is coming back together in unity and not fighting against each other as they had hoped and as they had pushed in their agenda to have Jake go against Jake, you know. But now that we're coming back together, they're upset about that because they know that once we come back together, there's power there. It says, everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself. And these devils, they're afraid, man. That's why we got all these different so-called Christian apologists or whatever the hell they call themselves trying to come and distort the word because they're nervous. You know, they're afraid. Say, damn, what if what these people are saying is true? All the things that we did to them, you know, we're going to have to pay for that. And they're saying that within themselves. They're shaking in their boots, man. They're shaking in their panties, man. You know? And the Lord is causing us to come together, bone to his bone, as you read in Ezekiel the 37th chapter. We are all coming back together, you know, all the different tribes, and they seeing this and they're getting nervous. It says, because of the counsel of the Lord of hosts, which he have determined against it. So all we doing is speaking words and coming together and teaching, and they get nervous about this. You know, wait till the Lord give us power. Then they're really going to be shitting in their panties. It says, in that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. And that's what we're coming back to. We're coming back to the language of Canaan. And when you go and you do your research or you search images on the language of Canaan, what do you come up with? the Hebrew, the ancient Hebrew, the Paleo Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash. That's not it. The Lashon, well, that's the other, the Lashon Kodash. You know, that's what it goes back to, the language of Canaan. So that means that the Lord is going to give us the right way to speak the language. Because why would that be prophesied if the Lord is not going to give us the proper language or pronunciation? You know, and this is all through faith. You know, we don't have documents that's going all the way back 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. It said this is exactly how Adam pronounced these particular words. It's through faith that we believe these things. You know, and the scriptures just said it that the Lord is going. It says, "In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan, and swear to the Lord of hosts, and one shall be called the city of destruction." Now let's see what they have here. Language of Canaan. Yeah, they got it separated, so it's just gonna go back to the Canaanites. Yeah, Lona. Yep, merchant. All right, so that language of Canaan is what? The Hebrew language, the language that we spoke in the past, the first language that was ever spoken on the earth before the earth was divided and separated into nations and into their different languages. All right. So going back here, it says, "In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar of the or at the border thereof to the Lord." And that's what's happening. You see all these different camps coming together and teaching the word of the Lord. You know, this is Ezekiel 11:16, I believe it is. "Therefore say, thus saith the Lord power, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come." And that's why you have so many little camps all over the place. And the Lord did that too, so that these devils couldn't trace everything, because these devils, they like to put everything in a category, in a box. The Most High is outside the box. You can't box the Most High, man. You can't box the Spirit. What the hell is wrong with you people, man? Truly, y'all children of fools, children of base men, trying to figure out the Most High. You got to be out your goddamn mind. It says, "And it shall be for a sign and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt, for they shall cry unto the Lord because of the oppressors. And he shall send them a savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them." And that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for Yahweh Shai to come back and deliver us. So we're speaking the language. We're calling on the name of the Lord. We know that the language of the heavens is the Hebrew, the Lashon Kodash. So the Lord gave us those names back, and that's what we're calling. We're calling on those names. All right. The brother, not the Zakba again. Isaiah 44:5. "One shall say, I am the Lord's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob." Right. "And another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord, and surname himself by the name of Israel." Why? Because we're coming back to our heritage, because we discontinued from it. But now the Lord is bringing us back and stirring up our pure minds by way of remembrance, by opening up our minds to it. All right. And that pretty much is, was the lesson. Was mainly dealing with the actual language, the Paleo Hebrew, uh, that was kept through the lineage, through a man named Eber, who had a son named Peleg or Pelag, which means division or divide, because in his days, that's when the Tower of Babel occurred, and the division of all peoples and languages came to pass, and it was named Babel. And that's the reason why America is known as Babylon the Great, because this is that great melting pot of confusion. You have all different peoples and language and tongues coming here because they want to live that American dream. you know so with that, the water to you brothers, that watched the live lesson, the water for coming through and showing love on the comment boards, the water for the precepts that you brother put up, the water for all the hard work that you brothers are putting out there. Your labors are not going to go in vain. Yahweh Bashem Shai will reward you, as he will reward all of us that continue on to the end. Just keep on fighting, brothers. We almost out of here. 2018, the year of prophecy. You know, it's go time. It's go time. It's go time. So let's go. All right, brothers. Shalom. Much love to all of you brothers, man. That's digging deep and digging in them trenches and bearing the heat of the day, bearing the cold, and all of that, man, for the sake of Yahweh Bashem Shai and the kingdom that He promised us. So with that, I'd like to say shalom to you, brothers.